A simple shape can hold the secret to eternal life. For thousands of years, humanity has encoded its deepest beliefs into sacred symbols, each one a vessel for divine power and cosmic truth. We are about to embark on a journey through 25 of the most remarkable legends ever told. From the Ankh that could unlock the afterlife to the geometric patterns believed to contain the very blueprint of creation, these are not just images. They are stories of gods and monsters, of secret societies and lost civilizations, all of which have profoundly shaped our world. You will discover the hidden powers and forgotten origins behind the symbols you thought you knew. Why was a five-pointed star once a sign of protection? And how did a simple fish become a secret code for survival? Which of these ancient emblems still speaks to the mysteries you feel deep inside? It looks like a cross, but with a loop at the top. This is the Ankh, one of the most powerful and enduring symbols from ancient Egypt, known simply as the key of life. Its origins are as life-giving as its meaning, born from the very heart of civilization itself, the Nile River. The loop was seen as the Nile Delta, the fertile, womb-like region where life flourished, while the T-shaped cross represented the path of the river, bringing water and sustenance to the desert. Together, they formed a perfect picture of existence, a key that could unlock the door to eternity. In the hands of the gods, the Ankh was not merely a symbol, it was a tool of ultimate power. Deities are almost always shown clutching an Ankh by its loop, pressing it to the lips of a pharaoh or a mortal. This was not a simple blessing. It was the gift of breath, of spirit, of life force itself. The goddess Isis, the great magician and mother, was particularly associated with the Ankh. She used its power to restore her husband Osiris to a form of eternal life, making the Ankh the very emblem of resurrection. The legend says that the Ankh could unlock the gates to the afterlife. For an Egyptian, death was a transition, a journey through a dangerous underworld to reach the field of reeds, a perfect eternal paradise. The Ankh was their passport. It was painted on tomb walls, placed within burial chambers, and held in the hands of the deceased, a physical key they believed could open the final doors to immortality. But its power goes even deeper than that. The shape itself is a profound union. The loop is considered feminine, a symbol of the womb and the cosmic egg, while the T-bar is masculine, representing the active force of creation. The Ankh is the coming together of these two fundamental principles, the union that generates all life. This is why it held such enduring power, representing not just life after death, but the very source of life itself. And that power did not fade with the sands of time. You can see the Ankh today worn as jewelry, tattooed on skin, and revered in modern spiritual practices. It speaks to a universal human longing, a deep-seated belief that there is a key, a secret to something more. It is a silent promise that life, in some form, truly is eternal. From the singular key of life, we now turn to a symbol of dynamic balance. Long before it was printed on T-shirts and yoga mats, the Yin and Yang emerged from ancient China as a profound map of reality itself. Its legend begins not with a specific event, but with a state of being, a primordial chaos known as Wuji. From this formless void, the story goes, two fundamental forces spontaneously arose, the light and the dark, beginning their eternal, swirling dance. This was the birth of the Taiji, the supreme ultimate, represented by the now familiar circle divided into interlocking teardrops. But this is not a symbol of conflict. It is a symbol of partnership. The black yin embodies the feminine, the moon, the cold, and the passive. The white yang represents the masculine, the sun, the heat, and the active. They are opposites, yet they are not enemies. They are lovers in a constant, graceful flow, each one giving way to the other to create the whole of existence. The most brilliant part of this design, however, is found in the small dots. Nestled within the expansive black yin is a single, perfect dot of white. And within the dominant white yang, there is a core of black. This is the ultimate secret of the symbol. It teaches us that nothing is ever purely one thing. There is no light without a trace of darkness, no darkness that is completely devoid of light. In the heart of every ending is the seed of a new beginning. In the midst of our greatest strength, there is often a hidden vulnerability. This understanding of inherent balance became the foundation of Taoist philosophy, and sages would spend their lives seeking to embody this principle. They observed it in the world around them, in the way day inevitably yields to night, and summer's heat gradually softens into autumn's coolness. They applied it to their own lives, knowing that a period of intense action, yang, must be followed by a time of rest and recovery, yin, to avoid burnout and achieve true harmony. The goal was never to eliminate one force in favor of the other, but to find the perfect flowing equilibrium between them. This ancient symbol, therefore, is far more than a static image. It is a living legend of interdependence, a timeless reminder that our universe is built not on absolutes, but on a beautiful, necessary, and eternal dance. Standing on the green hills of ancient Ireland, a new symbol rose from the soil, one that wove two worlds together. This is the Celtic Cross, a monument of stone where the circle of the sun embraces the cross of salvation. Its legend is tied to a single, pivotal moment of cultural fusion. As the story goes, the missionary St. Patrick sought to convert the pagan Irish. He understood that to speak of a new God, he must first honor the old ones. The people revered the sun, a life-giving force represented by a simple, powerful circle. So Patrick, with a stroke of genius, took the Christian cross and superimposed it upon the pagan sun wheel. In that single act, he created a bridge. The new faith did not seek to destroy the old, but to encompass it, to find a common language in stone and symbol. The cross now stood at the center of the sun, suggesting that the divine power they had always worshipped was now fully revealed in this new form. This was not a symbol of conquest, but of unification. But the story of the Celtic cross is carved in more than just its central shape. Look closer at its surface, and you will find it covered in incredibly intricate knotwork, patterns so complex they seem to have no beginning and no end. These are not mere decoration. They are a silent philosophy, a visual representation of the interconnectedness of all life. Each line loops and weaves, crossing over and under itself in an endless path. This is said to represent the eternal cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, a concept that resonated deeply with both pagan beliefs and the Christian promise of resurrection. The knots are a map of existence itself, showing how every soul, every event is tied to another in a vast, unbroken web. To stand before an ancient high cross is to read a story of harmony, a testament to the idea that faith can evolve without erasing its past. It is a symbol that holds two truths at once, proving that the human spirit often finds its deepest meaning not in choosing between old and new, but in weaving them together into something timeless. High above the desert sands, another Egyptian symbol watched over the living and the dead, an eye that saw everything. This is the Eye of Horus, known to the ancients as the Wedjat, a symbol of protection so potent its story begins with a cosmic war. The legend unfolds in the aftermath of a great betrayal, the murder of the god Osiris by his brother Set. Osiris's son, Horus, the falcon-headed sky god, challenged his uncle Set for the throne of Egypt. Their battle was epic and brutal, a clash that shook the heavens. In one of their most vicious encounters, Set managed to claw out the left eye of Horus, shattering it into pieces. The world held its breath, for this was no ordinary injury. The Eye of Horus was a vessel of the moon itself, and its destruction plunged the cosmos into uncertainty. But the story does not end in darkness. The god Thoth, the divine scribe and master of magic, intervened. With great wisdom and power, Thoth searched for the 6 scattered fragments of the eye and meticulously restored it, making it whole once more. This act of healing and restoration transformed the eye forever. It was no longer just an eye. It became the Wedjat, the sound or restored one, a symbol of sacrifice made whole by divine magic. Because of this, the Eye of Horus came to represent a profound promise, the idea that what is broken can be healed, that order can be wrested from chaos. This restored eye was then given to Osiris in the underworld, helping to restore his own life and solidifying its connection to resurrection and eternal protection. But the Egyptians saw more than just a story in this symbol. They saw a practical tool for living. They believed the 6 pieces of the shattered eye corresponded to the 6 senses: sight, smell, thought, hearing, taste, and touch. More remarkably, each fragment also represented a specific fraction in their mathematical system. The eyebrow was 1/8, the pupil 1/4, and so on. When you add all the pieces together, they total 63/64, not a perfect whole. The missing piece, legend says, was filled in by thought's own magic, a beautiful mathematical metaphor for the power of the divine to complete what is imperfect. This is why the Eye of Horus was everywhere. It was painted on the prows of ships to ward off shipwrecks and evil spirits. It was carved into amulets placed within the linen wrappings of mummies, a protective shield for the soul's dangerous journey to the afterlife. People would wear it to ensure good health and to see clearly, not just with their physical eyes, but with a spiritual vision that could perceive the true nature of the world. It was a guardian, a healer, and a seer all in one, a constant reminder that even from the deepest wounds, a greater power and protection can emerge. Within the protective gaze of the all-seeing eye, we find a symbol that maps the cosmos itself. The mandala is a universe contained within a circle, a sacred diagram born from the spiritual heart of Hinduism and Buddhism. Its very name, from ancient Sanskrit, simply means circle, but its meaning encompasses everything. A mandala is a cosmic blueprint, a representation of a perfectly ordered universe with a divine center, often inhabited by a god or a Buddha, and concentric layers that map out the journey from the mundane world to enlightened consciousness. It is not merely a picture to be admired, it is a tool for transformation, a spiritual device used for meditation and guidance. To enter a mandala in meditation is to embark on a profound inner pilgrimage, moving from the outer chaos of life inward, step by step, toward the serene and powerful center where ultimate truth resides. This journey mirrors the path of a seeker striving for enlightenment, using the geometric pathways of the mandala as a map for their own soul. But perhaps the most powerful legend of the mandala is not in its creation, but in its deliberate destruction. In Tibetan Buddhist traditions, teams of monks will dedicate days, even weeks, to the painstaking creation of a single sand mandala. They sit for countless hours, using metal funnels called chakpur to place millions of grains of colored sand with unimaginable precision. They breathe life into a universe of intricate patterns and symbols, a vibrant, temporary world born from patience and devotion. Then, in a ceremony that is both shocking and deeply moving, they destroy it. Once the meditation is complete and the mandala has served its purpose, the monks sweep the brilliant sands into a pile, erasing the entire universe they so carefully built. This act is a profound lesson in non-attachment. The scattered sands are then carried to a flowing body of water, where they are poured back into the world, a blessing bestowed upon all living beings. The entire process is a beautiful, silent sermon on the nature of reality. It teaches that all things, no matter how beautiful or complex, are transient. Life, relationships, and even the cosmos itself are in a constant state of flux. The mandala's legend, therefore, is a dual one. It is a map to eternal truth and a stark reminder of the impermanent world through which we must travel to find it. It shows us that the greatest wisdom often lies not in building permanent monuments, but in understanding the graceful art of letting go. From the silent dissolution of a sand mandala, we now encounter a symbol that is not seen but heard. It is a single syllable, a vibration that is said to have given birth to everything. This is Om, also chanted as Aum, the primordial sound from which the entire universe continually emerges. In the ancient scriptures of Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism, there is a profound legend that before there was light, before there was matter, there was only a silent, formless void. Then from the depths of that infinite potential, a single sound spontaneously arose. It was not a loud bang, but a resonant, cosmic hum that began to pulse and expand, setting the rhythm for all of creation. This was the first vibration, the fundamental frequency of existence itself, and that sound was Om. The symbol for this sacred sound is as deeply layered as its meaning. Look at its unique shape. You will see three distinct curves, each one representing a fundamental state of human consciousness. The large, lower curve at the bottom symbolizes the waking state, our everyday reality where we engage with the world through our senses. The middle curve represents the dreaming state, the inner world of thoughts, memories, and subconscious visions. And the upper curve signifies the state of deep, dreamless sleep, a state of pure rest and unconscious unity. But the symbol holds one more crucial element. Above these three curves sits a small crescent shape, and crowning it is a perfect dot. This dot is the fourth state, known as Turiya. It is the transcendental state of pure awareness, the silent witness that exists beyond the other three. It is the ultimate reality, the source from which the other states arise and into which they dissolve. When you chant Om, you are not just saying a word, you are tuning an instrument, the instrument of your own being. The chant begins deep in the belly with the sound A, which resonates in the chest as it opens into U, and finally vibrates on the lips as the humming M, before fading into the silence from which it came. This entire process is a microcosm of the cosmic cycle, moving from creation through preservation and into dissolution before resting in the quiet truth that underlies it all. Meditators have used this chant for millennia to quiet the mind and align their personal energy with this universal frequency. The belief is that by resonating with Om, you are not just making a noise. You are remembering your own origin, syncing the rhythm of your breath and heartbeat with the very pulse of the cosmos. It is an act of returning home, a sonic key to unlock a state of profound peace and connection. A five-pointed star holds a secret duality, a history divided by a simple turn of the wrist. Long before it became a symbol of controversy, the pentagram was revered as a mark of cosmic perfection. In ancient Mesopotamia, over 4,000 years ago, it was a sacred glyph for the goddess Ishtar and her planet Venus, its path across the sky tracing a perfect five-pointed pattern over an 8-year cycle. The Greeks, particularly the mathematician Pythagoras and his followers, saw in its precise, interlocking lines a symbol of ultimate balance and mathematical harmony. They named it the pentalpha, for it could be formed from 5 capital A's, and saw it as representing the 5 classical elements that composed the universe. The 4 lower points stood for the tangible world, earth, air, fire, and water, while the single top point represented the 5th element, spirit, ruling over and binding the others together. This orientation, with one point aimed skyward, was crucial. It symbolized the human quest for enlightenment, the ascent of spirit over the base elements of the material world. In this form, the pentagram was a powerful talisman of protection and knowledge, a symbol of the human being as a microcosm of the universe itself. So how did this ancient symbol of balance become so feared? The shift began with a simple inversion. When the pentagram is turned upside down with 2 points facing upward, the symbolism is fundamentally altered. The realm of spirit is now cast down, subjugated by the dominant forces of the physical elements. In the 19th century, occultists like Eliphas Levi began to associate this inverted pentagram with the goat-headed Baphomet, a figure representing the material world and later the devil. This single, powerful image was then adopted and sensationalized, cementing the inverted pentagram's link to Satanism and black magic in the popular imagination. This modern misconception, however, obscures a far older and richer legend of protection. For centuries across Europe, the upright pentagram was drawn on doorways and worn as an amulet to ward off evil spirits and malevolent witchcraft. It was known as the Endless Knot, its single, unbroken line believed to trap demons and negative energies within its labyrinth, preventing them from reaching the innocent. It represented the 5 wounds of Christ for some, and for others the 5 senses of a complete human being. The pentagram's true power lies not in its orientation, but in its enduring duality, a single geometric form that can represent both the highest spiritual aspirations and our deepest cultural fears. Its branches reach into the heavens while its roots plunge into the underworld, a living bridge between all realms of existence. This is the Tree of Life, a symbol so universal it appears in nearly every culture as the cosmic axis, the central pillar that holds creation together. Its legend tells of a world that is not a collection of separate places, but a single, interconnected organism. In the mystical tradition of Kabbalah, this tree is not a physical plant but a divine blueprint, a map of creation itself known as the Sephirot. The legend begins with the Ein Sof, the infinite, a boundless, unknowable divine presence. From this ultimate unity, the story goes, 10 divine emanations or Sephirot sequentially emerged like light flowing from a single source through a series of brilliant lenses. These are not separate gods, but 10 different aspects or channels of the one divine energy, each one representing a specific quality like wisdom, strength, beauty, or foundation. They are arranged in a pattern of 3 pillars, with the middle pillar representing balance, and are connected by 22 pathways corresponding to the letters of the Hebrew alphabet. The journey of the soul in this tradition is to climb this tree, to travel these pathways from the material world at its base back up through the spheres of divine emotion and intellect, ultimately seeking reunion with the infinite source. It is a map for spiritual ascent, a guide for personal transformation where every human action can be seen as a movement along this sacred geometry. Far to the north, in the frozen landscapes of Norse mythology, the same cosmic concept takes a more rugged, tangible form. Here, the Tree of Life is Yggdrasil, a colossal, evergreen ash tree. Its massive branches hold the skies aloft, and its 3 great roots drink from 3 separate wells, anchoring it in the realms of the gods, the frost giants, and the dead. Yggdrasil connects the 9 distinct worlds, from Asgard, the shining home of the gods, to Midgard, the world of humanity, and down to the misty underworld of Hell. It is a world in constant motion and peril. A squirrel named Ratatoska runs up and down its trunk, carrying messages of insult between the eagle perched at its highest bough and the serpent Nidhogg, who gnaws ceaselessly at its roots. This is not a symbol of serene, unchanging perfection, but of a living, struggling, and resilient universe. The gods hold their daily council beneath its branches, and its fate is tied to their own. The name Yggdrasil itself means the horse of the Terrible One, a reference to the god Odin, who once hung from its branches for 9 days and nights, pierced by his own spear, in a shamanic ordeal to win the knowledge of the runes. His sacrifice underscores the tree's role as a gateway to ultimate wisdom, a cosmic axis that demands a price for enlightenment. Whether it is the structured Sephirot or the organic, teeming Yggdrasil, the Tree of Life ultimately symbolizes the same profound truth. It shows us that the universe is a single, living entity, where every realm, every being, and every action is connected. It represents the journey of growth from our earthly roots to our spiritual aspirations, and the soul's eternal longing to find its way back to the divine source from which it came. No symbol in human history carries a heavier burden. The swastika, a shape now synonymous with hatred and genocide, was for thousands of years a sacred emblem of life, luck, and the divine. Its name itself comes from the ancient Sanskrit language, meaning it is conducive to well-being. Long before it was twisted into a banner of terror, This simple, equal-armed cross with its bent legs was a universal sign of auspiciousness, spinning across continents and cultures with a message of hope. Its most ancient legend is that of a solar wheel, a representation of the sun's daily journey across the heavens. In Hinduism, the right-facing swastika is a symbol of the sun god Surya, representing the cosmic order and the perpetual motion of life through the four great cycles, the four yugas. It is painted on doorways during festivals, drawn in rice flour for rituals, and stamped onto sacred texts as an invocation of divine blessing. The spinning arms are seen as a visual echo of the galaxy itself, a dynamic vortex of creation and preservation. In Buddhism, the swastika is intimately connected to the Buddha's own footprints, said to be imprinted on his feet as a mark of his enlightened mind. It represents the eternal wheel of Dharma, the teachings that lead to liberation, and is often found adorning the chests of Buddha statues, symbolizing his boundless heart. This symbol of peace traveled with Buddhism along the Silk Road, leaving its mark in the temples of China, Korea, and Japan. But the story of the swastika is not confined to the East. For the Navajo and other Native American peoples, it was a sacred symbol known as the whirling log, representing the four winds, the four directions, and the migration of their ancestors. It was used in healing sand paintings and woven into blankets as a powerful emblem of protection and the cyclical nature of existence. The legend of the swastika is a global one, a testament to a time when humanity shared a common visual language for the sacred. Its appropriation in the 20th century was a violent theft of this legacy, a deliberate act of taking a universal symbol of light and inverting it into a brand of ultimate darkness. This makes the act of reclamation not just an academic exercise, but a profound spiritual and cultural necessity. For millions around the world, the swastika never lost its original meaning. To see it only through the lens of its brief, brutal misuse is to allow a crime against humanity to also become a crime against history itself. The symbol's true power lies in its ancient, enduring promise of well-being, a spinning wheel of fortune that, despite everything, still holds the potential to turn again toward the light. Amidst the stark geometry of stars and trees, a symbol of delicate beauty emerges. The fleur-de-lis, the flower of the lily, carries a legend of divine light and earthly power. Its story begins not in a palace but in a field with a simple, elegant blossom. Long before kings claimed it, the lily was a nearly universal emblem of purity and renewal, its white petals seen as a reflection of celestial light. One specific legend, deeply rooted in French lore, tells of a miraculous event. It is said that in the 5th century, the Frankish king Clovis was guided by a vision to use the yellow iris, a flower that grew along the riverbanks, as his emblem before a crucial battle. After his victory and subsequent conversion to Christianity, the flower was sanctified, transforming from a simple marsh bloom into a sacred symbol. This is why many argue the fleur-de-lis is not a lily at all, but a stylized iris, a flower whose name means sword lily, perfectly linking its natural origins to its future as a symbol of martial and royal authority. The Church eagerly embraced this elegant form. It became a primary attribute of the Virgin Mary, representing her immaculate purity and divine grace. The 3 petals of the fleur-de-lis were also seen as a perfect representation of the Holy Trinity, with each petal symbolizing the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, all bound together at the base in a single, unified whole. This sacred connection provided the perfect foundation for its most famous role, the emblem of the French monarchy. When the Capetian kings adopted the golden fleur-de-lis on a blue background as their coat of arms, they were making a profound statement. This was not merely a political logo, it was a claim of divine right, a visual declaration that their authority to rule flowed directly from God himself. The symbol implied that the king was the earthly representative of a holy order, chosen to guide his people with wisdom and justice. In heraldry, the fleur-de-lis became the mark of a perfect knight, signifying honor, valor, and high moral standing. Its pattern was woven into royal tapestries, carved into cathedral stone, and stamped onto official documents, becoming inseparable from the identity of France. But its reach extended far beyond a single nation. You can find it on the flags of Quebec and New Orleans, on the crest of the Boy Scouts, and in the architecture of countless cathedrals around the world. The fleur-de-lis endures because it masterfully intertwines two powerful human ideals: the spiritual pursuit of purity and the worldly desire for legitimate, noble authority. It is a symbol that whispers of both heaven and crown, a delicate flower that carries the weight of empires. Three interlocking triangles form a puzzle that has baffled scholars for centuries. This is the Valknut, the knot of the slain, a symbol that appears exclusively in the context of Odin, the All-Father of Norse mythology. Wherever this symbol is found, carved on ancient runestones or depicted on funerary artifacts, the one-eyed god is nearby. The Valknut is his unmistakable mark, a glyph of his terrifying and absolute power over the fates of warriors. Its primary legend speaks to Odin's role as the chooser of the slain. On the battlefield, he did not merely observe, he actively decided who would live and who would die with honor. The Valknut is believed to represent his ability to bind the minds of fighters, to instill them with the battle frenzy of the berserker, or to render them helpless with fear. More profoundly, it symbolized his power to unbind the spirit from the body at the moment of death, freeing the warrior's essence for its final journey. This connects directly to his sacred duty as a psychopomp, a guide of souls. The bravest warriors, those who died sword in hand, were not left to wander. Valkyries, Odin's shield maidens, would descend from the sky to carry these chosen souls to Valhalla, the great hall of the slain. There, they would feast and prepare for the final battle of Ragnarok. The appearance of the Valknut on a memorial stone was not just a decoration, it was a declaration, a public acknowledgement that the deceased had been selected by the god himself for this glorious afterlife. But what of the symbol's strange, interlocked design? The three triangles woven together in an unbroken line are impossible to pull apart. This intricate geometry is not random. Many researchers believe it is a profound cosmological map. Each of the three triangles could represent one of the three levels of existence in the Norse cosmos: the heavenly realms of the gods, the middle world of humanity, and the underworld of the dead. When locked together, they illustrate the inseparable connection between all layers of reality. Another compelling theory suggests that the three triangles, with their 9 total points, are a direct numerical cipher for the 9 worlds held in the branches of the world tree Yggdrasil. From Asgard to Helheim, these realms were believed to be connected by destiny, their fates intertwined like the lines of the knot itself. To look upon the Valknut is to see a complex machine of divine power, a symbol of a god who could bind the mind, unbind the soul, and whose influence stretched across the entire tapestry of the cosmos. From the dark, fertile mud of a still pond, a single flower rises to meet the sun. This is the lotus, a sacred symbol across the East whose very existence is a living legend of spiritual triumph. Its story begins at the dawn of time. In Hindu cosmology, before creation, there was only a formless, dark ocean. From these primordial waters, a single lotus blossom emerged, unfolding its petals to reveal the god Brahma seated at its golden heart. It was from this divine flower that Brahma then spoke the universe into being, making the lotus the very womb of creation, the first thing to arise from the chaotic depths. This is not merely a story of the past, it is a powerful metaphor for every human soul. The lotus grows in the muddiest of waters, its roots firmly anchored in the muck and decay. Yet it pushes upward through the murky darkness, rising above the surface to open a blossom of breathtaking purity, completely unstained by the filth from which it came. This journey perfectly mirrors the path to enlightenment in both Hinduism and Buddhism. The mud represents our earthly attachments, our suffering, and our ignorance. The long stem is the arduous struggle of spiritual practice, and the pristine flower that finally opens to the sunlight is the enlightened mind, awakened and free from all defilement. The Buddha is often depicted seated serenely upon a lotus throne, symbolizing his own victory over the cycle of suffering and rebirth, but the lotus speaks in a language of color as well. A white lotus represents a state of perfect mental and spiritual purity, a total transcendence of worldly desires. The pink lotus is the supreme lotus, traditionally associated with the highest deity and the historical Buddha himself, symbolizing the essence of all enlightenment. A red lotus blooms with the fierce compassion of the heart, a love that is active and unwavering. The rare blue lotus is a symbol of wisdom, intelligence, and the victory of the spirit over the senses, always shown as partially opened, for the infinite nature of wisdom can never be fully grasped. Each color adds a new layer to the legend, painting a spectrum of spiritual possibilities. To see a lotus is to witness a promise that no matter how deeply we are rooted in darkness, we all possess the potential to rise, to break the surface, and to blossom into something radiant and pure. Carved into the ancient stones of a tomb older than the pyramids, a symbol of threefold motion spirals endlessly into the past. This is the Triskelion, a triple spiral whose legs appear to be in perpetual motion, a dynamic dance frozen in time. Its legend is deeply woven into the Celtic world, where it was revered as a representation of the three fundamental realms of existence. The first spiral signifies the land, the solid ground beneath our feet, the source of stability and physical life. The second represents the sea, the vast, mysterious realm of emotion, intuition, and the unconscious. And the third spiral reaches for the sky, the domain of the gods, of intellect, aspiration, and spiritual dreams. Together, they form a complete picture of the cosmos, a constant interplay of forces that sustains all of reality. But the Celts saw another, even more profound, cycle within its form, the eternal triad of life, death, and rebirth. Just as the sun rises, reaches its peak, and sets only to rise again, the Triskelion illustrates the soul's own journey through existence, through the other world, and back into a new life. This continuous flow is embedded in the very design, the spiral suggesting motion without beginning or end, a promise that every conclusion is merely a new starting point in disguise. The true mystery of the Triskelion, however, lies in its origin, for it far predates the Celtic people themselves. At the massive Neolithic passage tomb of Newgrange in Ireland, built over 5,000 years ago, the triple spiral is etched deep into the chamber walls. This was a sacred place of burial and ritual, a monument aligned so perfectly with the winter solstice sunrise that a single beam of light pierces its inner darkness for just a few minutes each year. Here, the symbol's connection to the sun and the cycles of the year feels undeniable. It is a stone calendar, a spiritual map, and a declaration of belief in renewal all in one. Many scholars believe this ancient symbol was also a representation of the great goddess in her threefold aspect, a concept known across many cultures. She was the maiden, representing youth, potential, and new beginnings. She was the mother, the nurturer, the creator and sustainer of life in its fullness. And she was the crone, the wise elder who guides the passage into death and holds the secrets of transformation. The Triskelion, therefore, is more than a symbol of balance. It is a vortex of cosmic energy. It speaks of a world in constant sacred motion, where land, sea, and sky are in conversation, and where life, death, and rebirth are not a linear path, but a beautiful, eternal spiral. An open hand, raised in a timeless gesture of warning and welcome, guards against unseen dangers. This is the Hamsa, a potent amulet whose legend spans deserts and seas, known to some as the Hand of Fatima and to others as the Hand of Miriam. It is a universal shield, a symbol so deeply embedded in the cultural fabric of the Middle East and North Africa that its origins are lost to time. yet its purpose remains crystal clear: to deflect the malignant force known as the evil eye. The evil eye is not a simple superstition, but a profound and ancient belief that a glance, often one born of envy or ill will, can carry a tangible negative energy capable of causing misfortune, illness, or even death. The Hamsa is the answer to this invisible threat, a physical barrier that intercepts and neutralizes this harmful intent before it can reach its target. The power of the symbol lies in its intricate design. It is a symmetrical hand, usually with 5 fingers, though often the 2 outer fingers are identical, creating a balanced mirror-like image. This symmetry is not just aesthetically pleasing, it is magically significant, representing a perfect equilibrium that negative energy cannot easily penetrate. At the very center of the palm, you will almost always find a single, unblinking eye. This is not the eye of the beholder, but the ever-vigilant guardian, a watchful sentinel that stares back at malevolence and reflects its own gaze. The hand itself is a deeply primal symbol of power, protection, and blessing, capable of both giving and stopping force. In Islamic tradition, the amulet is often called the Hand of Fatima, named for the Prophet Muhammad's daughter, a figure revered for her purity, patience, and resilience. Her hand represents divine femininity, faith, and the 5 pillars of Islam. In Jewish culture, it is the hand of Miriam, sister of Moses and Aaron, a prophetess who led her people in celebration and who is associated with a protective, nurturing spirit. The 5 fingers can be seen to symbolize the 5 books of the Torah. This shared symbolism across faiths highlights the Hamsa's role as a unifying emblem of protection, transcending religious boundaries to address a common human fear. You will find this hand everywhere, crafted in shimmering blue ceramic to mimic the sky and sea, colors believed to be especially potent against the evil eye. It is worn as jewelry, hung in cars as a charm for safe travel, and placed above the doorways of homes and businesses, standing as a silent sentry. To possess a Hamsa is to carry a piece of ancient wisdom, a reminder that while envy and negativity are part of the human experience, we have always held in our hands the power to turn it all away. Even the most trusted symbols can hide a case of mistaken identity. High above the doors of hospitals and on the badges of countless medical professionals, you will often find a staff entwined by 2 serpents crowned with a pair of wings. This is the caduceus, and its association with healing is one of history's most persistent errors. The true symbol of medicine is far older and carries a very different legend, the rod of Asclepius. In the heart of ancient Greece, Asclepius was the revered god of healing, a divine physician whose skill was said to be so great he could even cheat death itself. His symbol was a simple, rough-hewn staff with a single serpent coiled around it. This was not a symbol of speed or commerce, but of rejuvenation and wisdom. The serpent, shedding its skin in a cyclical act of renewal, was a powerful representation of healing and the renewal of life. The staff itself represented authority and support, a tool for a wandering healer. Temples dedicated to Asclepius, known as Asclepians, were the hospitals of their day where the sick would come to sleep, hoping the god would visit them in their dreams with a cure. The single serpent and staff stood as a direct promise of that restorative power. So how did the wrong symbol become so widely adopted? The answer lies with another god entirely, Hermes, the swift messenger of the Greek pantheon. His staff, the caduceus, is a markedly different object featuring 2 serpents intertwined around a winged wand. This was never a symbol of healing. Hermes was a trickster god, the patron of merchants, liars, and thieves. His caduceus was a symbol of negotiation, of commerce, and of escorting souls to the underworld, a staff meant to bring balance in debate or to ensure safe passage, not to cure the sick. The Great Mix-Up occurred in the late 19th century with the United States Army Medical Corps. A seemingly well-meaning but ultimately mistaken officer, confused by the similar staff and serpent imagery, recommended the caduceus as the Corps official insignia. The wings and twin serpents were mistakenly seen as more decorative and official, and the adoption stuck. From this single, bureaucratic error, the symbol spread like a virus through the American medical landscape, appearing on textbooks, hospital logos, and pharmaceutical products, creating a visual lie that has lasted for over a century. While the rod of Asclepius remains the correct and globally recognized emblem of the healing arts, the caduceus continues its reign in popular culture, a constant reminder that even our most trusted icons can be born from a simple yet profound misunderstanding. A serpent devouring its own tail forms a perfect, unbroken circle. This is the Ouroboros, one of the most ancient and enigmatic symbols known to humanity, a creature perpetually consuming itself to sustain its own existence. Its legend first emerges from the shadows of Egyptian tombs, where it was known as the serpent Mehen, coiled around the sun god Ra during his nightly journey through the underworld. Here it was a protector, a living barrier against the forces of chaos, its circular form representing the cyclical nature of the sun's journey, which died each evening only to be reborn at dawn. The Greeks gave this symbol its enduring name, Ouroboros, which literally means tail devourer. To the alchemists of ancient Alexandria, it was not just a protective charm but a profound philosophical key. They saw in its endless loop the ultimate truth of the universe, that all things are one. The phrase "one is all," or sometimes "all is one," was often inscribed inside the circle formed by the serpent's body, a declaration that every part of creation is interconnected and born from the same source. The act of self-consumption symbolized the eternal cycle of creation and destruction, where the end of one thing is always the beginning of another, a process without beginning or end. This idea was powerfully adopted by Gnostic traditions, who saw the Ouroboros as a representation of the boundary of the cosmos, a serpentine ring that contained the entire material world. It was both the prison of the physical realm and the key to escaping it, for to understand the cycle was to see beyond it. In alchemical texts, the symbol held a very specific, practical legend. It represented the prima materia, the base substance of all matter, and the cyclical process of distillation and purification required to transform lead into philosophical gold. The serpent biting its tail illustrated the closed, self-sufficient system of the alchemical vessel, where materials were broken down and reconstituted in a continuous loop until perfection was achieved. This was a physical metaphor for a spiritual journey, the process of the soul refining itself through endless cycles of experience and introspection. This powerful imagery did not fade with the age of alchemy. In the modern era, the pioneering psychologist Carl Jung saw the Ouroboros as a fundamental archetype of the human psyche. He interpreted it as a symbol of the pre-conscious state of infancy, a time of total self-containment and self-sufficiency, where the individual is the entire world. More profoundly, he saw it as a representation of the drive toward self-reflection and individuation, the process by which a person confronts and integrates their own shadow self. The serpent consuming itself is the psyche turning inward, feeding on its own contents to achieve a state of wholeness and enlightenment. It is a symbol of the therapeutic process itself, where one must often revisit and consume past traumas to be healed and made new. To gaze upon the Ouroboros is to confront a mystery that is both cosmic and deeply personal. It is the universe in a single, elegant shape, a reminder that we are all part of an endless, self-renewing cycle, and that the journey to understand everything often begins with the difficult, essential task of understanding oneself. In the shadow of Roman persecution, a simple sketch in the dust could mean the difference between life and death. This is the legend of the ichthys, the fish that became a secret handshake for a forbidden faith. Long before it adorned car bumpers, this symbol was a covert signal for early Christians, a silent language of survival in an empire that saw their beliefs as a threat. The code was elegant and safe. One believer meeting a stranger would casually use their foot or a stick to draw a single arc in the dirt. it looked like the top curve of a simple fish. The other person would then have a choice. If they were not an initiate, they would likely just ignore the meaningless line. But if they were a fellow Christian, they would understand the signal and complete the drawing with the second arc, forming the full, distinct body of the fish. In that moment, without a single word being spoken, a bond of trust was instantly forged. Two strangers became brothers and sisters, safe in the knowledge that they were not alone. But the symbol's power goes far deeper than its use as a secret code. The fish itself was a powerful metaphor for the early church. Many of Christ's first disciples were fishermen, called to become fishers of men. The fish also represented the baptismal waters, a place of spiritual rebirth. Yet the true genius of the ichthys is encoded in its very name. The Greek word for fish is ichthys, and early believers saw in this word a perfect acrostic, a hidden message of their core beliefs. Each letter became the first letter of a sacred title, Isus Christos Theos Soter. Translated, this means Jesus Christ, God's Son, Savior. This single, simple shape contained the entire gospel, a complete declaration of faith. It proclaimed Jesus as the Messiah, the divine Son of God, and the rescuer of humanity, all wrapped up in a symbol that could be drawn in an instant and erased just as quickly. Its enduring power lies in this beautiful duality, a mark of both desperate secrecy and unwavering conviction. It reminds us that faith, in its purest form, is not always about grand public displays, but sometimes about the quiet, courageous act of drawing a single line and trusting that someone will be there to complete it. The most intricate throne of creation is not made of gold or stone, but of pure geometry. The Sri Yantra is a breathtakingly complex diagram revered in Hindu Tantra, a visual echo of the first sound of the universe. Its legend tells us that before form there was vibration, the sacred syllable Om, and from that resonant hum, the cosmos began to crystallize into the pattern we see in the Sri Yantra. This is not merely a symbol of creation, it is considered the very blueprint, the cosmic matrix from which all of existence continuously unfolds. To gaze upon it is to look at the architectural plan for reality itself. At its heart is the bindu, a single, central point representing the absolute, undifferentiated consciousness, the source of all that is. From this singular point, the universe erupts outward in a precise, geometric dance. The primary structures are 9 interlocking triangles, 4 pointing upward and 5 pointing downward. These are not randomly placed, they are locked in a perfect, dynamic embrace. The upward-pointing triangles symbolize the masculine principle, Shiva, representing pure, transcendent consciousness. The downward-pointing triangles represent the feminine principle, Shakti, the dynamic energy that brings the universe into manifestation. Their interweaving illustrates the fundamental truth that the cosmos cannot exist without the union of these two forces, consciousness and energy, spirit and matter, forever intertwined. Radiating outward from this central web of triangles are 2 concentric circles of lotus petals. The inner circle holds 8 petals and the outer circle holds 16. These are not just decorative floral patterns, they represent the subtle energy channels and psychic potentials that unfold within a person as they progress on their spiritual journey. The entire diagram is then enclosed within a square with 4 gates, representing the temple of the cosmos with its doors open to all directions. Meditating upon the Sri Yantra is a profound spiritual technology. A practitioner does not just look at it, they journey into it. The eyes trace the intricate lines from the outer square, moving inward through the lotus petals, deeper into the dancing triangles, and finally arriving at the still, silent center point. This inward journey is a map for the soul, guiding the meditator from the outer, material world, through the layers of their own mind and energy, back to the unified source of their own being. It is believed that by absorbing the mind into this perfect pattern, one can achieve spiritual awakening, a direct realization of the ultimate reality that the yantra represents. The Sri Yantra is a silent symphony, a legend told not in words but in angles and intersections, inviting us to find the cosmos within our own consciousness. Deep within the labyrinthine palaces of ancient Crete, a double-headed axe hangs as a silent testament to a formidable power. This is the labrys, a symbol so central to the Minoan civilization that its form was carved into palace columns and etched onto sacred stones. Its legend begins not with a warrior but with a goddess. The labrys was the primary symbol of the Minoan mother goddess, the supreme deity of earth, sky, and the fertile cycles of nature. In her hands, the double axe was not a weapon of war but a sacred instrument of sacrifice. It was used in the ritual slaughter of bulls, animals seen as embodiments of raw, untamed power and vitality. By wielding the labrys, the priestess acting as the goddess could ritually channel this potent life force, offering it back to the divine to ensure the continued fertility of the land and the people. This act was not one of mere violence, but a profound, sacred exchange between humanity and the cosmos. The connection between the labrys and the bull runs even deeper, spiraling into one of the most famous myths of the ancient world, the labyrinth. The very word labyrinth itself is thought by many scholars to derive from labrys, meaning the house of the double axe. This linguistic link suggests that the vast, intricate palace of Knossos, with its countless corridors and courtyards, was itself considered a labyrinth, a sacred space guarded by the symbol of the axe. Within this symbolic house dwelt the mythical Minotaur, the half-man, half-bull creature. The legend weaves together the themes of royal power, the sacred bull, and the imposing form of the double axe into a single, powerful narrative. For the Minoans, the labrys was therefore a symbol of ultimate authority, blending religious and royal power into one. It represented the goddess's dominion over life and death, and by extension, the ruler's divine right to govern. Its symmetrical, balanced design reflected a worldview centered on harmony and cyclical renewal, a far cry from the single-headed axes of conquest used by other cultures. Centuries later, this ancient symbol would be rediscovered and its meaning powerfully reclaimed. In the 1970s, the labrys was adopted by feminist and lesbian communities as an emblem of female strength and solidarity. They looked past its ritual past and saw in its form a representation of the two crescent moons, symbolizing the duality of female nature and independence from patriarchal structures. It became a bold declaration of identity, a modern weapon in the fight for visibility and equality, connecting the powerful goddesses of a matriarchal past with the empowered women of the present. The labrys thus carries a dual legacy, a sacred tool for ancient ritual and a vibrant banner for modern liberation, its double edges forever cutting through time. Three arcs locked in an endless embrace form the triquetra, a knot with no beginning and no end. This ancient symbol, carved into standing stones long before the cross arrived in Ireland, originally honored the divine feminine in her threefold aspect. For pagan Celts, the three interwoven loops represented the triple goddess, the maiden, the mother, and the crone, a timeless cycle of life, death, and rebirth that mirrored the turning of the seasons and the phases of the moon. It was a symbol of the land itself, a testament to the power that flowed through all living things. When Celtic Christianity began to spread, it did not erase this powerful icon, it wove a new meaning into its existing form. The missionaries saw in its three equal parts a perfect representation of the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, three distinct aspects of one unified God. This was not a replacement but a transformation, allowing the old faith to flow seamlessly into the new, its familiar shape now holding a deeper Christian mystery. The true magic of the triquetra lies in its unbroken line. Your eye can trace the entire shape without ever lifting from the page, a continuous path that loops back on itself eternally. This single, unbroken line is a profound promise of spiritual eternity, a visual declaration that the soul's journey has no true start and no final finish. It speaks of the interconnectedness of all life, how every action, every spirit is woven into an infinite divine tapestry. This beautiful complexity made it a favorite motif for Celtic monks, the master scribes who dedicated their lives to illuminating sacred texts. In the famed Book of Kells, the triquetra dances across the vellum pages, its knots intertwined with other animals and patterns in a breathtaking display of devotion and artistry. For the monks, drawing this symbol was an act of meditation, a way to contemplate the divine mystery of three in one and the eternal nature of God's love. To wear or draw the triquetra today is to connect with that ancient understanding, to carry a reminder that we are all part of a story much larger than ourselves, a story that never truly ends. From the eternal knot of the triquetra, we find another legend of endless return, one written not in stone but in fire. The phoenix is a creature of pure myth, a magnificent bird that lives for centuries, only to build its own funeral pyre and be consumed by cleansing flames, then rise from the ashes newborn and vibrant. Its story begins not in Greece but along the life-giving Nile with the Egyptian Bennu bird. The Bennu was a heron-like deity associated with the sun god Ra and the annual flooding of the river, a direct symbol of creation and rebirth. It was said to have ignited itself on a sacred pillar, a precursor to the fiery legend we know today. When Greek historians encountered this myth, they adapted it, giving the bird the name we know so well, phoenix, and weaving it into their own tapestry of lore. The Roman poet Ovid then immortalized the legend in stunning detail. He described a bird with feathers of gold and crimson, so unique that only one could exist at a time. At the end of its long life, the phoenix would build a nest of aromatic spices like cinnamon and myrrh, a fragrant pyre that would be ignited by the rays of the sun or the sheer heat of its own beating wings. The bird would then face the flames willingly, singing a song of heartbreaking beauty as it was burned away to dust. But from those very ashes, a new, young phoenix would emerge, placing the remains of its former self in an egg of myrrh and carrying it to the city of the sun to begin the cycle anew. This powerful narrative made the phoenix a universal symbol of resurrection and immortality, a promise that even from total destruction, life can begin again, more glorious than before. Early Christians saw in it a parallel to Christ's resurrection and the promise of eternal life for the faithful. For anyone who has faced a profound loss, a personal failure, or a period of utter devastation, the phoenix offers a timeless metaphor of hope. It tells us that our endings are not final, that the fires which seem to destroy us can also be the very crucible from which we are reborn, stronger and more radiant than we ever thought possible. After the phoenix rises from its own ashes, another symbol speaks of a different kind of rebirth, one found not in fire but in a single, life-altering choice. The Dharma Wheel represents the very moment the Buddha, having attained enlightenment, decided to share his discovery with the world. Its legend begins in a deer park where he delivered his first sermon to 5 former companions, an event known as setting the wheel of Dharma in motion. This was not the start of a new religion, but the turning of a cosmic wheel that had been still for ages, a profound shift in the spiritual landscape of humanity. The wheel itself is a perfect circle, representing the completeness and perfection of the Buddha's teachings, a path with no beginning and no end. But its true power is held in its 8 spokes, each one a vital step on the noble eightfold path, the practical guide to ending suffering. These are not sequential commands, but 8 interconnected principles to be cultivated together. They begin with the wisdom of right view and right intention, understanding the true nature of reality and committing to compassion. They move into ethical conduct through right speech, right action, and right livelihood, how we communicate, behave, and earn our living in the world. Finally, they focus on mental discipline with right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration, the training of the mind to be focused, aware, and free from distraction. Each spoke supports the others, and together they form a stable, rolling vehicle that can carry a person from the shores of suffering to the liberation of nirvana. At the very hub of the wheel, you will often find three swirling shapes, sometimes depicted as three curls or jewels. These are the three jewels, the foundational pillars of Buddhist life. The first jewel is the Buddha himself, not as a god to be worshipped, but as the ideal of a fully awakened being, a living proof that enlightenment is possible. The second jewel is the Dharma, the vast body of teachings that serve as the map and the medicine for the human condition. The third jewel is the Sangha, the community of practitioners who support, challenge, and guide one another along the path. To take refuge in these three jewels is to begin the journey in earnest. The Dharma Wheel, therefore, is more than a historical reminder. It is an active invitation. It asks us to consider that our own lives are like a wheel, often spinning through cycles of habit and reaction. But this wheel offers a different way to turn, a path of mindful steps that leads not in circles but forward toward a lasting peace that begins with a single conscious thought. A tiny creature pushing a ball of dung across the desert became an ancient emblem of cosmic creation. This is the sacred scarab beetle, known to the Egyptians as Khepri, a living god whose daily labor mirrored the grandest event in the sky. The Egyptians observed the beetle's unwavering dedication to its task, rolling a perfect sphere of dung across the ground to bury it as food for its young. In this humble, earthy act, they saw a profound parallel. The ball of dung was the sun, and the beetle pushing it was the god Khepri, rolling the solar disk from dawn to dusk, bringing light, warmth, and life to the world. Khepri's name itself means he who comes into being, signifying his role as the god of the morning sun, the self-created one who pushed the sun into existence each day from the primordial darkness. This made the scarab not just a symbol of the sun, but of spontaneous creation, the very force that initiates life from nothingness. But the legend of the scarab delves even deeper into the mystery of rebirth. The Egyptians noticed that young scarab beetles seemed to emerge spontaneously from the buried dung ball, as if born from it with no visible parent. This miraculous appearance mirrored the sun's own daily rebirth at dawn, and more importantly, the hoped-for resurrection of the human soul after death. The scarab, therefore, became a powerful promise of transformation, a guarantee that the end of one state of being was merely the beginning of another, more glorious one. This belief was given physical form in one of the most important amulets of ancient Egypt, the heart scarab. During the mummification process, a large stone scarab, often inscribed with a spell from the Book of the Dead, was placed over the heart of the deceased. The heart was considered the seat of intelligence, emotion, and morality, the very record of a person's life. In the final judgment, this heart would be weighed against the feather of Mot, the goddess of truth. The spell on the scarab was a plea to the heart: do not stand against me as a witness, do not tell the gods of my misdeeds. It was a charm to ensure the heart did not betray its owner, to keep it silent and balanced so the soul could pass through the trial and be reborn into the afterlife. To carry a scarab was to carry a piece of the sun's own transformative power, a tiny, rolling engine of creation that promised to guide the soul through its darkest night into an eternal dawn. A colossal shadow sweeps across the plains, and the sky itself seems to tear open. The thunderbird is not merely a creature of myth, it is a fundamental force of nature given form in the traditions of many Native American tribes. This gigantic, supernatural being commands the heavens, its immense wings beating with a sound that echoes as rolling thunder, while the flash of its piercing eyes becomes the lightning that cracks the sky. It is a divine messenger, a being of immense power that bridges the world of spirits and the world of humankind. For the tribes of the Pacific Northwest, the thunderbird is often depicted locked in an eternal struggle with the horned serpent of the underwater world. Their epic battles are more than just stories. They are cosmological explanations for the storms that churn the seas and the rains that nourish the land. When the thunderbird seizes the serpent, the resulting tumult brings life-giving water to the forests and rivers, making it a crucial agent of balance and sustenance. This immense power also translated into social and spiritual authority. The symbol of the thunderbird was revered, often carved onto towering totem poles to signify a clan's strength and lineage, or painted onto shields and garments as a mark of protection and leadership. To invoke the thunderbird was to call upon the ultimate guardian, a spirit that could ward off evil and bring order to chaos. Its presence in ceremony and art was a constant reminder of the raw, untamable power of the natural world and the respect required to live in harmony with it. The legend of the thunderbird soars beyond a simple weather myth, embodying the very essence of strength, the sacred duty of protection, and the life-giving promise carried within a storm. Two perfect circles overlap, their centers placed upon each other's circumference, and in the space where they meet, a new shape is born. This is the Vesica piscis, a geometric lens whose name translates to the bladder of the fish. Its legend is one of profound intersection, a sacred diagram of the moment the divine touches the material plane, creating a womb from which all of existence emerges. This almond-shaped mandala is not an empty space, it is a fertile void, a portal. In Christian art for centuries, this very shape was used as a radiant frame, a halo of light encircling the figures of Christ and the Virgin Mary in icons and stained glass. This was a deliberate theological statement, visually placing the holy figure at the precise point where heaven and earth converge, showing them as the living bridge between two realms. This connection runs even deeper, directly linking to the secret symbol of the fish. The body of the ichthys is fundamentally constructed from the Vesica piscis, its curved outline tracing the very shape that represents the sacred intersection, encoding the meeting of God and humanity within its simple form. But the true power of this symbol lies in the sacred geometry it reveals. When you draw a line from the top point of the lens to the bottom, you create its height. Draw a line across its widest point, and you have its width. The ratio between these two measurements is the square root of 3, a fundamental constant that appears throughout nature, from the structure of molecules to the very behavior of light. Ancient builders and mystics saw this ratio as divine, a mathematical proof of a cosmic order, and they incorporated it into the designs of cathedrals and temples, believing these holy spaces would literally resonate with the harmony of creation. The Vesica piscis, therefore, is far more than a historical emblem. It is a silent, geometric Genesis story. It represents the first spark of consciousness arising from the unity of spirit, the birth of light from a single source, and the fundamental ratios that bind the universe together. To contemplate this shape is to gaze upon the primordial threshold, the sacred intersection where everything begins. From the geometric genesis of the Vesica piscis to the fiery rebirth of the phoenix, our journey through 25 remarkable legends now comes to a close. We have seen how a simple shape can become a key to the afterlife, a map of the cosmos, or a secret code for survival. But these are far more than ancient art or historical artifacts. Each symbol is a profound vessel carrying humanity's deepest questions about existence, our highest hopes for protection, and our most enduring spiritual yearnings. They represent our timeless quest to understand the divine, to find our place in the vast cosmos, and to feel a connection to each other across the chasms of time and culture. The Ankh promised eternal life, the Yin and Yang revealed a universe of dynamic balance, and the Ouroboros showed us the endless cycle of death and renewal within our own souls. These legends prove that our ancestors used the language of symbol to encode truths that words alone could not contain. Their power endures because they speak directly to the mysteries we still feel today, the longing for meaning, the need for protection, and the belief in something greater than ourselves. We would love to hear which of these symbolic legends resonated most deeply with you. Was it the protective gaze of the Eye of Horus, the secret courage of the ichthys, or the eternal promise of the lotus? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you are captivated by the world's greatest historical mysteries, be sure to subscribe for our next exploration into the hidden stories that have shaped our world.